The Ministry of Education on Friday condemned the University of Nairobi Council Chairperson, Professor Amukowa Anangwe, for making unilateral appointments to top university leadership positions. In a strongly worded letter, the Ministry of Education has accused the University Council Chairperson, Anangwe, of overstepping his mandate by appointing Professor Francis Mulaa as acting Vice-Chancellor without due process or consultation with the Cabinet Secretary as required by law. Now, this comes just a day after Professor Bitange Ndemo claimed he had been shortlisted, appointed, and was to take over the position before withdrawing due to what he called an unprocedural process. Higher Education Principal Secretary Dr. Beatrice Inyangala described these actions as a clear violation of the University's Act of 2012 and an usurpation of the Council's role, vowing unspecified action against Professor Anangwe. Well, let's take a deeper look now at the unfolding leadership crisis at Kenya's oldest public university. So the latest update is on Friday when the Ministry of Education released a letter addressed to Professor Francis Mulaa. In that letter, the Principal Secretary for Higher Education, Beatrice Inyangala, said his appointment as acting Vice-Chancellor is both unlawful and irregular, stating the University Council made the decision without involving the Cabinet Secretary, a requirement under Kenyan law. Later that same day, the ministry issued a formal press statement reaffirming Professor Jasang Hutchinson as a legitimate acting Vice-Chancellor under university statutes. The ministry called the Council's chairperson's move a clear usurpation of legal procedure and warned such violations will not be condoned. Now, just a day earlier, on Thursday, the University Council Chairperson, Professor Amukowa Anangwe, had appointed Professor Francis Mulaa as acting Vice-Chancellor for a 6-month term. The decision, however, now faces rejection from the ministry, which says the law was not followed. Later that same day, the former ICT Principal Secretary Bitange Ndemo made a surprising claim, saying he had been shortlisted and picked as the next substantive Vice-Chancellor. But Ndemo now says he has pulled out of the process, calling it unprocedural and clear. Now, these battles didn't start last week. Since last year, leadership at the University of Nairobi has been in limbo. With Professor Stephen Kiama's term ending, the process to replace him has been marked by delays and silence, raising questions about transparency. Even Kiama's own rise to the top was rocky. In 2020, then Education CS George Magoha opposed his appointment, saying he was not consulted. The matter ended up in court, underlining long-running governance battles at the University of Nairobi. The wrangles trace even further back to 2016, during Fred Matiang'i's time as the Education Cabinet Secretary. He disbanded university councils at the time across the country, accusing them of mismanagement. While the goal was to reform, it also centralized control, and many say that's what triggered the current confusion.